Our topic today is new threats and tough choices, a discussion of Obama's first defense budget. This is very timely. The president having offered his first budget yesterday, or at least the broad outlines of what's going to eventually be his budget. And what's striking about it, you look at the cover of the Washington Post today, is just how bold and sweeping it is in conception. And I think one of the things we want to talk about today is we quite understand that the president is focused on economic recovery as he should be. And we all know that a strong economy is the bedrock of a strong national defense. And I think over the next 4 years, this president has an equally challenge of equal magnitude, which is to really radically rethink our defense spending and budgeting priorities, and to put the kind of bring about this transformative change idea to that to those programs as well. Even though what we have here is sort of a placeholder for decisions that are going to be made. So this is a good time to get together and talk about what we think some of the really tough choices he's going to have to grapple with are. Down the years, those of you all who know Progressive Policy Institute know that we've always argued sort of a strong pro-defense position. We've argued that Democrats ought not to cede leadership, primacy really, over national security matters to the other side. And we've been happy to see that under President Obama in the last several years there's been a kind of renewal of confidence on the progressive side about national security. We understand that this country is at war, and there's wonderful. And it's going to be a very difficult job of completing successfully the two engagements we're in Iraq and Afghanistan, and not to mention the unfinished business with Al-Qaeda. But while we are unstinting in devoting the national resources we think that are necessary to carry that out, we also think that it's also time to impose real discipline on defense spending as part of this overall shifting of priorities that the Obama administration is undertaking. Over the last 8 years, we've had anything but discipline on the military spending side, as Gordon Adams has just joined us has forcefully argued in his writings. We've had what Congressman Spratt, will introduce here in a second, calls a permissive environment for decision-making about the defense budget. And I think we're headed toward the end of that. Now, looking closely at the Obama budget yesterday, the number's pretty breathtaking. It's about $663 billion when you add the base spending to the overseas contingencies, that is the wars. And yet the spending growth rate is not robust compared to everything else in this budget, the domestic accounts. But as I said, the real work starts now when they're going to have to figure out how to make the trade-offs within that spending outline that they need to make. We think at PPI that there are really two balances that need to be struck, and we wrote about both of them in this book, Memos to the New President, a good memo by Jim Arquidis about the need to strike a balance between civilian power and military power. No less a peacenik than Secretary of Defense Gates has been arguing that we need to invest much more in civilian power, that we've over-relied on the military instrument in prosecuting what are essentially political or ideological wars in which the winning of hearts and minds, the winning of popular support on the ground is absolutely crucial to success. So he has stressed the need to rebalance civilian and military spending. So we think that's one of the great challenges. And in this book, Jim has a creative proposal for replacing the quadrennial defense review with a national security review that allows us to put all the things we need to do under the rubric of national security on the table and make trade-offs given the finite spending pot we have. The other big balance that needs to be struck, of course, is that between what might be called legacy conventional weapons, platforms, and systems, and those necessary to fight asymmetric or unconventional conflicts of the kind we're in. And I'm struck again by what Secretary Gates has said. I think this debate joins around several issues, but one of them is the F-22, and Secretary Gates has pointed out, as marvelous and capable as this aircraft is, it hasn't once been used in the conflicts that we're actually engaged in, so we have to think hard about what kind of systems we are really going to need in a context where you can't have everything you want and then some. To talk about these issues, we've assembled a terrific panel today, and Jim Markakis is really going to moderate it, and I'll leave the introductions to him. My job here is simply now to introduce our kickoff speaker, whom you all know very well, Congressman John Spratt. Congressman Spratt's been a great friend of ours and really a mentor on these issues for the last 2 decades as we've tried to understand military and defense policy. He's been representing the 5th District of South Carolina since 1982, and in the intervening years he's become what I think is one of the real pillars of the House of Representatives. He's really a legislator's legislator, somebody you go to when you want to get something done and when you want a reality check about what can be done. You know, and to me, he's a kind of a living and breathing argument against term limits. Profoundly bad idea. Anyway, as you all know, Congressman Spratt is the chairman of the House Budget Committee, and he's one of the leading fiscal hawks in the House, another thing that endears him to me. He's second-ranking Democrat on the Armed Services Committee, and where, again, down the years he showed a mastery not only of sort of budget and defense, budget and acquisition sorts of issues, but also some of the big policy issues, from missile defense, the MX missile, going back a long time. We've looked at him for leadership. It's also worth noting that he did time in the Pentagon a couple of years while he was in the Army, so it's seen from both sides. Congressman Spratt was a kind of a prescient and early critic of the Bush administration's practice of paying for the wars and other things in the supplemental process, things that probably didn't belong there at all. And of course, the President is now going to end that. But in any case, we do face some difficult trade-offs. This administration has an opportunity to take a fresh look at everything that we do under the rubric of military and national security spending and bring the same kind of reforming zeal to that it's done to the domestic accounts. And that presumably starts now. I'm here to help us understand what some of those big choices and what the possibilities are. Let me turn it to Congressman Spratt.